Well, hello then, I do hope you're all well. Well, yes, it's that time of the week where it's we sort of like go over the calls of P&Qs, you know, where we listen to the pearls of wisdom of Theo Usherwood, the LBC political editor, as he tells us whether our bodger is dropping truth bombs or just talking the most insurmountable load of bollocks that anybody's ever heard. And in this week, this is the last one before Christmas recess, so no doubt it'll be in a belter. But unfortunately, I'd have to say it did seem a little bit muted, but what our Theo Usherwood had to say was very, very interesting about what happened. So enjoy.
25 minutes after 12, you're listening to James O'Brien on LBC, joined by our political editor Theo Usherwood for a quick pick over the bones of this week's PMQs. Theo, you go first.
Let's start with the first couple of questions from Keir Starmer, and he was trying to get the Prime Minister to denounce those 99 Conservative rebels who voted against the plans by saying it was the sensible thing to do. We lent you the votes in order to do it, to get Plan B over the line. Now will you say that you did the right thing and that those who voted against it were in the wrong? And of course the Prime Minister couldn't do it because he needs to keep those backbenchers on side. He can't antagonise them any further. The Prime Minister also confirmed I think it was his third answer to the third question, that MPs will have a say if further measures are needed to curb the spread of Omicron. And of course that will mean that after Thursday, if the scientists turn around and say we need to introduce further restrictions that could, of course, include restrictions on social gatherings, particularly at Christmas, then Parliament will have to be recalled and those plans will have to be passed by MPs. Keir Starmer saying on the record, and this is what Pat McFadden was telling me earlier, that Labour will support that. They will take the same approach. They're not going to suddenly switch from it. But it will create a problem for Boris Johnson if he wants to introduce further restrictions. If his scientists are saying that further restrictions are needed, then he's now made a commitment that Parliament will be recalled and that he will put it to a vote and that he will listen to that vote.
And there'll be another rebellion, probably.
And there'll be another rebellion.
Probably. I mean, not definitely. They might wake up to the fact that the scientists know a little bit more about what's going on than Brexit hardman Steve Baker does. So we live in hope. But it opens the door to that possibility.
But it potentially makes it politically much more difficult for Boris Johnson to introduce further restrictions at Christmas after Thursday, because it will mean getting all of the MPs back into the House of Commons and then allowing them the right of veto over introducing further plans. And of course, it will go through because Keir Starmer has said it will, but it is potentially quite dangerous for the Prime Minister politically to go to those lengths given the scale of the rebellion that we saw last night.
Indeed. Did he land punches? I'm looking. I mean, David Aranovich of The Times describes himself as somebody who doesn't normally watch PMQs, but Keir Starmer gave Boris Johnson a right old mullering there. Great use of the word mullering, actually, but that's by the by. We do follow PMQs every week, so perhaps we judge it by a slightly different scale. It was not muted.
Slightly more muted, yeah.
Yeah, was it?
It was quieter than it usually is. I mean, you heard the Tory benches getting behind the Prime Minister at the very end, shouting more, more, more in answer to the sixth question. Keir Starmer trying to link, of course, and this is worth noting, the photographs that we saw from that party at CCHQ, the parties in number 10 Downing Street, to his ability to implement further restrictions. And of course he read out, I think one was from Philip Davis, the MP from Shipley, a quote where he'd said, why should my constituents follow the rules if the Prime Minister isn't following the rules? And Keir Starmer's accusation of the Prime Minister is that he no longer has the moral authority to turn around and introduce further rules because, of course, his team within number 10 had been breaking those same rules when they were in place last autumn going into Christmas. And what Keir Starmer was trying to do throughout this session of PMQs was to further drive a division between Boris Johnson and his own backbenchers. And it was interesting in the fifth answer, Boris Johnson actually turned around and said, didn't he, that he respected those MPs who had voted against Plan B last night. He respected their concerns. He was not rising to the bait of saying, actually, you know what, by introducing Plan B, I did the right thing. I did what was necessary.
And a plague on all their houses. But what about the numbers claim was a bit odd. I suppose there must be a technicality under which you can claim that it was won with Tory votes. But if the Labour Party had sat on their hands last night...
So Keir Starmer then turns around to Boris Johnson and he says, you won this with Labour votes. Of course, this isn't recorded by Hansard. It's not recorded as being on the record, but Boris Johnson then appeared to say, not true, not true. Then when Boris Johnson gets to the dispatch box, he turns around and says, last night's vote was won with Conservative votes. Well, if 3 Conservative MPs had voted, well, no, 3's the wrong number, if 80 Conservative MPs had voted for it, members of the government had voted for it, and Labour had voted for it, then it would have been won with Conservative. It would have been won with Conservative votes. You know?
Oh, I see. So there's a sum missing from the statement because two Conservative votes were on the winning side. Therefore, Conservative votes won it.
Yeah. But the other statement that's true is that vote last night wouldn't have been won without Labour votes.
If Labour had voted against the government, the government would have lost.
They would have lost heavily, and it wouldn't have gone through.
But it was won with Conservative votes.
But it was won because you
Doff cap tug forelock.
So, even if members of the government had voted and every backbench Conservative MP had not voted for it, it would have, by my mathematics, it would have gone through just, but it would have been won with Conservative votes. So what the Prime Minister didn't lie at the dispatch box. He didn't tell a mistruth of the dispatch box. What he said at the dispatch box was perfectly true. It was won with Conservative votes. It just that those votes wouldn't have been won without, well, certainly the COVID passes vote wouldn't have been won without Labour votes.
How old is Wes Streeting?
I think he's a bit younger than me, about 35, 36.
So how old are you now?
40.
So that is a real policeman moment for me. As I always say, the police are getting younger. You see a front bench politician. 38, I'm told.
38. Oh, that was close.
He had a good day yesterday.
He had a very, very good day. He's always been one to watch Wes Streeting.
Is that the first time you've had a senior front bench politician who's younger than you?
No, the one that's really getting me, and I'm just on the right side of it, is Rishi Sunak, who's a year older than me.
Yeah.
But George Osborne, you have to remember, was Shadow Chancellor. I think he was 30 when he became Shadow Chancellor.
Yeah, but you weren't.
Yeah, I know.
You silly sausage.
Yeah, but I'm
talking about you. I'm not talking because it's all downhill now. You know, it's all downhill now. You never go in reverse. You can never.
It happened when I went to the moment for me was not politics. It was going to the dentist, and I was treated by somebody far younger than me. And
yeah,
it was just
there
like,
you go. So that's it. That's it now. Welcome to my world. Thank you, Theo.
Well, there you have it. Well, he technically didn't lie about that this was won by Tory voters, but he's been slying in. And if anybody believes that anything he said about that is true, well, he did tell the truth, but he's been economical by the sounds of it, doesn't he? But yeah, that'll be interesting if they call back during recess. I bet there will be anarchy if they try to put in more rafts of rules and regulations with this. Now that would be interesting. Oh dear. I think they'll have his guts for garters, especially Desmond Swayne. What an idiot that man is. Oh dear. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and until the next time, I shall bid you farewell and take care.